I was 10 years old the night they threw me to the wolves. And here's what nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a villain's mask or carry a smoking gun. It sits at your family table. It watches you sleep. It waits for the exact moment when you're small enough, powerless enough, trusting enough, and then it strikes. The council chamber reeked of wet fur and burning sage. My mother's blood hadn't even dried on the stones when they dragged me in, bare feet slipping in the crimson pools, my nightdress soaked through, my hands still reaching for parents who would never reach back. The high priest stood at the altar, that bone-white mask hiding everything human, his voice rolling through the vaulted chamber like thunder promising devastation. Cursed. One word. That's all it took to erase 10 years of my existence. My Uncle Nikolai stood at his right hand, not weeping, not protesting, not even pretending to grieve the brother he'd just helped murder. Just watching, calculating, his face already rearranging itself into the expression of a man who'd inherited power, not stolen it. I tried to speak. God, I tried to tell them about the shadow I'd seen slipping from my parents' chamber, the figure that moved too fast to be human, too deliberate to be anything but planned. But fear is a thief. It stole my voice, turned my testimony into a child's broken, useless sob. The moon has spoken, the priest intoned, lifting a parchment that seemed to glow in the firelight, though I'd later learn it was just clever stagecraft, theater designed to terrify the vulnerable. This child bears the mark of ruin. To let her remain is to invite death upon us all. The guards seized my arms. I remember the sound, boots scraping across stone, iron hinges groaning like wounded animals, the winter wind cutting through fabric and skin with equal cruelty. Beyond those gates, nothing but darkness. Nothing but the howling wild and the kind of cold that doesn't just freeze your body. It freezes your hope. Nikolai stepped forward then, close enough that I could see every micro-expression, the cold satisfaction in his eyes, the way his shoulders had already squared into authority that had been my father's just hours before. "You will not return," he whispered, and there was no uncle in that voice, only a man who'd already decided I was dead and was simply waiting for nature to confirm it. They shoved me into the snow. The gates slammed shut with a sound like breaking bones, or breaking futures. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. Wait, what happens to a 10-year-old girl alone in a winter forest with no weapon, no shelter, no pack? She should die. Statistics say she dies. Logic says she dies. Every reasonable expectation says the story ends right there in the snow, with small frozen fingers and unanswered prayers. But here's what I need you to understand, and listen close, because this is the part they don't teach you until life forces the lesson down your throat. The world doesn't owe you fairness. It doesn't owe you justice. It doesn't even owe you survival. But it does give you a choice. Die quietly the way they expect, or refuse. Get up, learn, adapt, become. The forest didn't pity me. It taught me how to track by scent when sight fails, how to kill without hesitation when hunger demands, how to survive on rage when there's nothing else left to burn. The wild doesn't coddle you. It doesn't offer second chances or participation trophies. It simply presents reality. Evolve or perish. So I evolved. 10 years. That's how long it took to transform from a frightened child who couldn't speak her truth into a woman who no longer asks permission to be heard. The moon watched every brutal lesson, every scar earned, every moment I wanted to quit, but didn't, because spite is a powerful fuel, and vengeance is a patient teacher. I made myself a promise in that darkness. I would come back. Not as the broken girl they exiled, not as the cursed child they feared, but as the wolf they should have killed when they still had the chance. Now, a decade later, those same gates swing open at my approach. The guards who man them whisper a new name as I pass, Alpha Queen of the Exiled. They raise a white banner of peace, thinking it will save them, thinking reconciliation is what I came for. They don't understand yet. I didn't survive a decade in the wild to forgive. I survived to remember. And there's a difference that will cost them everything. Tonight, in the very hall where my parents were murdered, where my childhood ended, and my education in betrayal began, I'm going to make sure everyone else remembers too. Because here's the final truth, the one that matters more than prophecies or politics or pack law. The past doesn't stay buried, not when the dead leave ghosts, and not when those ghosts come back with teeth. They wanted me cursed? Fine, I'll show them what a real curse looks like. It wears silver white hair earned through frost and starvation. It carries a blade named Justice, and it knows exactly where all the bodies are buried, because I'm the one who climbed out of the grave they dug. The gates are open, the moon is rising, and the reckoning they feared for 10 years, it just walked through their front door. Welcome back. And if this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found us. You're about to step into a story that settles into your heart and doesn't let go easily. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing how far this pack reaches. If you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what unfolds next. Let's begin. The fortress looks exactly the same. That's the first thing that hits me as I break through the tree line. Every stone, every tower, every iron-barred window sits precisely where it was a decade ago, as if time decided this place deserved to be frozen in its own guilt. But I'm different, and that difference is about to become their problem. Behind me, 50 wolves crouch in the shadows. Rogues, exiles, the packless and the betrayed. Rask, my second, a grizzled warrior with more scars than stories, gives me the look. The one that says one word and we storm those gates. I shake my head once. This entry needs to be surgical, not spectacular. They need to see me walk through that archway alone. The girl they threw away, now wearing power like a second skin. The sun bleeds orange across the battlements, and suddenly I'm 10 again, small hands gripping iron bars, voice hoarse from screaming, watching this same sunset while the cold tried to kill me. The memory hits like a fist to the chest. I can smell the sage from that night, taste the copper of my mother's blood, feel the weight of my father's name dying on my tongue. Then the adult version snaps back. Leather creaks against my shoulders. Steel rests cold at my hip. My boots, not bare frozen feet, press into earth I once thought I'd never touch again. Here's what returning to the place that broke you teaches. You measure growth not in years, but in who flinches first. 10 years ago, I flinched. I begged. I believed them when they called me cursed. Today, I'm the one they'll be afraid to look in the eye. The guard captain emerges, armor polished, fist to chest, voice steady, but his pupils say predator alert. Natalie Larson, by order of acting Alpha Nikolai, you are granted safe passage and guest rights for 3 nights under the moon's witness. 3 nights. How generous. How calculated. Just long enough to make me feel safe. Just short enough to arrange an accident. I accept, I say, and my voice doesn't shake anymore. Funny how surviving the unsurvivable does that. Removes the tremor, leaves only the blade. I step forward. The archway looms. The same archway where they shoved a child into winter. Where I stumbled and fell and bled, and somehow, impossibly, survived. Each step echoes. Guards line the entrance, some with recognition flickering in their eyes. Some were there that night. Some held the torches. Some watched and did nothing, which is its own kind of violence. I meet every single gaze. Remember me. Remember what you did, and understand that I remember too. The stones beneath my boots still bear faint stains from that night. My blood, mixed with my parents' blood, absorbed into the foundation of a place that tried to erase us. The stones remembered my blood. I wondered if they'd remember how easily they could spill more. The inner courtyard opens like a mouth waiting to swallow me whole. Warriors line the perimeter. Some I recognized by the shape of their scars, the set of their shoulders. Men who once threw practice swords to a child who wanted to be like her father. Now they watch me like I'm a bomb with an unknown timer. Good. Let them sweat. Then I see him. Nikolai stands at the keep steps, arms spread wide like he's welcoming home a beloved niece instead of the orphan he created. Natalie! His voice carries warmth that doesn't reach his eyes. It's been far too long. Too long. As if I've been on vacation. As if he didn't personally shove me into a winter that tried to digest me alive. I don't run to his embrace. I walk. Slowly. Let him hold that pose. Let everyone see how long he has to stand there with his arms open and his mask slipping. The council elders flank him like crows at a corpse. Old men in dark robes, faces carved from stone and secrets. I scan them, cataloging which ones were there that night, which ones signed off on my parents' murders with the same hands they now fold in false prayer. Then my eyes catch it, the wall behind them, where my parents' memorial should be, the carved stone bearing their names, their honors, their legacy. There's nothing, just Nikolai's personal sigil, a lone wolf, rising. Erasing them wasn't enough. He had to replace them with himself. Something cold slides through my chest. Not grief. I buried grief in the snow years ago. This is clarity, the kind that makes your vision sharpen and your pulse steady. Uncle, I say, and the word tastes like poison I'm deciding whether to spit or swallow. How thoughtful of you to remember me. His smile tightens. Just a fraction. Just enough. We're family, Natalie. Family never forgets. Family, the audacity. Here's what powerful liars do. They rewrite history while looking you in the eye, daring you to call them on it, knowing the crowd will side with the person who sounds most reasonable. Of course, I reply, matching his hollow warmth with my own. That's why you've prepared such a warm welcome. A feast, he gestures broadly, to celebrate the end of old divisions. The pack must heal. The pack must heal. Translation, pretend I didn't murder your parents so I can keep this throne. A servant approaches with wine. I take the goblet, let my fingers brush the rim. The scent hits me immediately, something bitter beneath the honey-sweet vintage. Sedatives, probably. Just enough to make me sluggish. Pliable, easy to deal with once the doors close and the witnesses disperse. I raise it toward Nikolai and mock salute. Our eyes lock. His jaw tightens. A micro-expression. The kind you only catch if you've spent years learning to read body language when your life depends on knowing who's about to strike. His smile stays perfectly placed, but the muscle at his temple pulses. Once, twice. He's afraid. Not of my sword, of what I know. To family, I say, lifting the cup higher. Then I set it down, untouched. Actually, Uncle, I find I'm not thirsty. Perhaps later. We have 3 nights, after all. Plenty of time to drink together. The silence stretches. Someone in the crowd shifts. Boot leather against stone. The sound is deafening. 3 nights, he said. Generous. Just long enough to kill me if I prove too dangerous to let leave. The great hall should feel smaller. That's what everyone says about childhood places. You grow up, go back, realize the monsters were just regular-sized all along. But this room hasn't shrunk. If anything, it's expanded, become a cathedral of lies so massive it needs vaulted ceilings just to contain them all. The twin thrones are gone. Where my mother and father once sat, equals, partners, joint rulers, there's now a single elevated seat, Nikolai's throne, centered, solitary. The visual message unmistakable. There is only one voice here, only one authority, only one truth. Except I was there when there were 2. I remember. I walk straight to where my mother's throne used to stand. The stones still bear the impression. 4 circular indentations where the chair legs rested for decades. I place my boots exactly in those marks and turn to face the council. The symbolism isn't subtle. I don't want it to be. The high priest Casimir rises, bone-white robes flowing like a ghost trying to haunt the living. "Nathalie Larson," he intones, voice dripping with manufactured compassion. "We gather tonight in the spirit of healing, of forgiveness. The past has wounded us all, but wounds, given time and care, can close." Here's the thing about people who talk about forgiveness without accountability. They're not asking you to heal, they're asking you to forget. There's a difference, and it matters. "You can't heal what you refuse to name," I say, and my voice cuts through his sermon like a blade through silk. This wasn't a wound, it was murder. My parents didn't die, they were killed, and calling it anything else is just another lie piled on top of the original crime. The hall goes silent, that thick, suffocating silence where everyone stops breathing at once. An elder clears his throat. "The pack faces threats, child. Border wars, failing alliances, internal divisions. Now is the time for unity, not reopening old." "Old what?" I interrupt. "Old murders? Old conspiracies? Tell me, when exactly does justice expire? Is there a statute of limitations on killing your leaders and exiling their child? Because I must have missed that law." Nikolai finally speaks, his voice all measured authority. "The pack struggles, Nathalie. We need strength, solidarity, not accusations that tear us apart." I smile. It doesn't reach my eyes. "Perhaps the pack struggles because it's built on lies. You ever think of that, Uncle? Rotten foundations make weak walls. You can paint them, polish them, pretend they're solid. But the first real storm?" I let the implication hang. They collapse. Another elder jumps in, voice placating. "These are serious allegations. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, as family." "We are not family," I say, and the words land like stones. Family doesn't exile children. Family doesn't erase the dead. Family doesn't sit on stolen thrones and call it inheritance. Here's what power looks like. Watch closely. It's not the person shouting. It's the person who makes the room lean forward to hear them whisper. I lower my voice, make them strain. "You want healing? Fine. Let's heal. But healing starts with truth, with accountability, with calling murder what it is and answering for it. You want forgiveness? Earn it. Confess what you did. Name the crime. Face the consequences." I pause. Let it sink in. Or are we just supposed to pretend 10 years erased the blood on your hands? Nikolai's smile never wavers. Practiced. Perfect. The face of a man who's lied so long he believes his own fiction. But his hand, resting on the armrest of my father's stolen throne, trembles just enough for me to see. They escort me to guest quarters like I'm visiting royalty instead of a threat they're measuring for a coffin. The room is beautiful, all polished wood and soft furs, a fire crackling in the hearth, wine already poured on the side table. Generous, comfortable, watched. Guards at both ends of the corridor. I counted them on the way in, 4 total, rotating shifts probably. They're not here to protect me. They're here to make sure I don't wander, don't dig, don't discover what they've spent a decade burying. Here's what being underestimated teaches you. Let them think the cage is working. Let them believe their surveillance matters. Meanwhile, know that walls have cracks and guards have blind spots, and someone, somewhere, is always watching the watchers. The knock comes just after sunset. Soft. 3 taps. A woman enters carrying a meal tray, simple dress, head slightly bowed, the kind of servant designed to be invisible. She sets the tray down with practiced efficiency, and for a moment I think she's just another piece of the performance. Then she leans close, adjusting a napkin that doesn't need adjusting, and her lips barely move. The archives. 3rd bell past midnight. Bring light. She's gone before I can respond. Door clicking shut, footsteps fading, leaving me with a pulse that just kicked into combat rhythm. Midnight. The archives are in the lower keep, past the council chambers, through corridors, and used to run through as a child, pretending to be a warrior. Now I am one. Funny how life delivers on childhood dreams in the most twisted ways. I go. Of course I go. You don't survive exile by ignoring opportunities that show up disguised as servants. The woman is already there when I arrive, half hidden in shadows between shelves that smell like dust and secrets and time. She turns, and the moonlight catches her face just right. Older than me, but not by much. Eyes that have seen things they wish they could unsee. "You don't remember me," she says quietly. "I was your mother's attendant, Petra's friend." The name lands like a fist. Petra, my mother, spoken aloud by someone who actually knew her, not the sanitized version Nikolai's regime allows. "Celine," she continues, "I brought her tea the night she died. I heard her scream." Her voice cracks, just slightly, just enough to know it's real. "I saw the high priest leaving her chambers with blood on his hands, fresh, still dripping, the kind that doesn't come from accidents or natural causes." "Wait, hold on. She saw? You witnessed?" "Everything," Celine interrupts. "I saw everything, and I said nothing." The silence between us is so heavy it has weight, has texture, has the shape of every moment she stayed quiet while a child was exiled for a crime she knew others committed. "They threatened my family," she whispers, and the shame in her voice is so thick you could cut it with the blade at my hip. "My daughter, my aging mother. They told me silence meant safety, so I chose safety, and I've hated myself every single day since." Here's what you need to understand about complicity. Sometimes the people who enable evil aren't monsters. They're just terrified, and terror makes cowards of us all, until we decide it doesn't anymore. "Why now?" I ask. "Because you came back. Because someone finally did. I've been gathering evidence for 10 years, copying records, mapping passages, documenting everything I could reach, waiting, hoping, praying someone would return who was brave enough to use it." She moves between the shelves, pulls out documents I can barely read in the dim light. Partial records, witness accounts, fragmentary proof. "I couldn't access the sealed vault beneath the Moon Temple," she admits. "That's where they keep the real evidence, the prophecy, your parents' testament, everything that proves what happened." She pressed a key into my palm. Cold iron, heavy with age and intent, and 10 years of waiting for the right hand to hold it. "The Moon Temple," she whispered. "The vault beneath the altar. Everything you need is there." The Moon Temple sits at the edge of the compound, like a monument to all the ways faith can be weaponized. I approach it an hour before dawn, that dead time when even guards get drowsy, when the world holds its breath between darkness and light. The key Celine gave me feels alive in my palm, warm, pulsing, like it's been waiting a decade to fulfill its purpose. The outer door opens with a whisper. Too easy. But the lower chamber? That's where they put their real security. Wards carved into stone, ancient locks that require not just keys, but knowledge of old patterns, symbols that glow faintly in the dark, like warnings written in starlight. Here's what 10 years of survival teaches. Locks are just puzzles made of metal. Wards are just fear made tangible. And fear? Fear only works if you let it. I pick the first lock, then the second. The wards flicker, respond to the key, to my bloodline, to something they were coded to recognize, even if those who made them are long dead. The vault door swings open on hinges that haven't moved in a decade. The air inside tastes like secrets kept too long. Stale, wrong, guilty. And there, on a stone pedestal in the center of the chamber, sits everything they tried to erase. The prophecy stone, actual moon script carved into rock that predates this pack by centuries. I run my fingers over the words, translating as I go, and my heart doesn't just race, it detonates. The child born under the shadow moon will shatter the throne of lies and restore the pack to truth. Wait, read that again, slowly. Not cursed, not destruction, truth, restoration. They didn't exile me because I was dangerous to the pack. They exiled me because I was dangerous to their lies. Next to the stone, my parents' testament, their actual last words, written in my mother's hand, naming me heir, warning of Nikolai's ambition, documenting conversations where he revealed his intentions. And beside that, forged death records, the official version claiming Winter Heaver, signed by the same council members who now sit in judgment. And underneath, the real records, eliminated by council order, signatures, dates, a conspiracy laid bare in ink and malice. I'm holding the entire truth of my life in my hands, every lie exposed, every betrayal documented. Then I see it, beneath the main prophecy, written in blood ink that only appears under certain light, a second message from the seer. The child will be marked by shadow and fire. She will be cast out by those who fear truth more than death. But she will return, and in her return, the pack will face its reckoning. Those who stand with her will be redeemed. Those who do not will be ash. They knew. The seer knew I'd be exiled, knew I'd survive, knew I'd come back. This wasn't prophecy. This was a plan. My hands are shaking, not from fear, from rage, from the weight of understanding that my entire childhood was sacrificed on the altar of someone else's calculated bet that I'd be strong enough to endure it. Footsteps. Above me. In the temple proper. Robes rustling against stone. The high priest, returning for midnight ritual. I move fast, grab the testament, photograph the prophecy with my mind because there's no time to carry the stone, shove documents into my cloak. The footsteps grow louder, closer. He's descending. I slip through a side passage Celine mapped for me, pulling the vault door almost closed but not quite. There's no time for perfect. I hear it click, just as his shadow falls across the entrance. A pause. Long. Terrible. Then his voice, sharp with alarm. Someone's been here.
I'm already moving through the passages, heart hammering, proof pressed against my chest like armor. Behind me, I hear him calling for guards, raising the alarm, locking down the temple. By morning, the entire compound will know someone breached the vault. They'll double security, triple it. Nikolai will know his time is running out. I had the proof. Now I just needed to survive long enough to use it. The training yard is where they keep the illusion of normalcy. Warriors sparring, steel ringing against steel, sweat and dirt and the performance of strength. I'm watching from the shadows when he approaches. Casual, too casual, like we just happened to be in the same place at the same time. Leo, Nikolai's golden boy, rising star of the council, the nephew who stayed loyal while I got thrown away. Quite a commotion at the temple last night, he says, voice low, eyes forward, like we're strangers making small talk. Someone broke into the vault. High priest is furious. Nikolai's tripled the guard. I don't respond, don't confirm, don't deny. You survive this long by giving nothing away until you know which side the blade is on. He shifts closer, still watching the sparring ring. Your mother taught me to read the old language when I was 8. Did you know that? Secret lessons in the library after everyone else was asleep. She said knowledge was the one thing no one could steal from you. Wait, my mother taught him? She was wrong about that, he continues, voice tight with something that sounds like grief. They stole everything, her life, her legacy, her daughter. I turn to look at him fully now, really look. He's got his father's jawline, his father's build, but his eyes, they're different, haunted, like he's been carrying weight that doesn't fit right on his shoulders. Your father signed the death warrant, I say, statement, not question. Among others, his voice drops lower. I was 12 when it happened, old enough to understand what I was watching, too young to stop it. He came home that night with blood under his fingernails and told me sometimes leaders have to make hard choices for the good of the pack. He finally meets my gaze. I never forgave him, and I've spent every day since waiting for a chance to undo what he did. Here's what revenge teaches you. It's lonely, isolating. You start thinking you're the only one who remembers, the only one who cares, the only one willing to fight. But sometimes, rarely, dangerously, hopefully, you're not alone. Sometimes other people are carrying the same rage, just wearing different masks to survive. You've been embedded in the council, I say, testing, probing, for 3 years, feeding him false intelligence about the exiled wolves, making him think you're scattered, weak, disorganized, giving you time to build your coalition without him mobilizing the full force of the pack against you.
He pulls a folded parchment from his jacket, hands it over with movements so smooth they look rehearsed. Council records, meeting schedules, Nikolai's private correspondence, including his contingency plan for dealing with you once your 3 nights expire. I unfold it, read. My blood turns to ice. Assassination, staged accident, blame it on rogue elements, bury me before the truth can surface. He's planning to kill me on the 3rd night. He's been planning it since the moment you walked through those gates. Leo's jaw tightens. He just needed to maintain the appearance of hospitality long enough to make it look justified when you, tragically, don't survive. The parchment trembles slightly in my hands. Not from fear, from fury, from the validation that everything I suspected was true, and worse. Why help me? I ask. Your father's legacy dies with Nikolai's regime. Your family name gets dragged through the same mud. My father's legacy is already mud, Leo says quietly. I'm trying to build something different. Redemption doesn't come from protecting guilty men. It comes from standing with the people they wronged, even when it costs you everything. My cousin, my enemy's son, my unexpected ally. Family is complicated. Loyalty is simple, and he'd chosen his side. The summons comes at midday. Formal, polite. Acting Alpha Nikolai requests your presence for a private discussion regarding pack matters. Translation: get in this room now before I drag you. I go armed, blade at my hip, knife in my boot, another tucked against my spine. If he wanted me defenseless, he should have asked nicer. His private study smells like old leather and older lies. He's standing by the window when I enter, backlit by afternoon sun, positioned for maximum dramatic effect. Politicians, they're all the same, staging every moment like it's theater instead of life. Sit, he says, without turning. I remain standing. Small rebellion, necessary. He sighs, turns, and for the first time since I've been back, I see the cracks, shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. The temple break-in rattled him more than he's willing to admit. Someone violated the Moon Temple last night, he begins, voice measured but tight. Breached the vault, stole documents of significant historical importance. I let the silence stretch. Don't confirm, don't deny. Make him work for every piece of information. I can't prove it was you, he continues, and there's frustration bleeding through now. But we both know the truth, don't we? You came here for more than reconciliation. You invited me for reconciliation, I correct. I came for justice. There's a difference. He moves to the desk, pours 2 glasses of amber liquid, offers one. I don't take it. Fool me once with poisoned wine, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, there won't be a twice.
Let me make you an offer, he says, setting both glasses down. Gold, territory, northern reaches, rich land, autonomy. Take your exiles, build your own pack, live well. All I ask is that you leave, tonight, and never return. Wait, he's bargaining.
The man who exiled a child without hesitation is now negotiating. That tells me everything about how afraid he actually is. My parents are gone, he continues, voice softening into something meant to sound reasonable. Nothing you do will bring them back. Why destroy the pack they loved over ancient history? Why tear apart everything they built for revenge that solves nothing? Here's what manipulators do. They reframe your justified anger as petty vengeance, make you question whether truth matters if it causes disruption, convince you that keeping quiet is somehow noble instead of complicit. Ancient history is the only truth left, I say, and my voice could cut glass. Everything since has been a lie. Every law you've passed, every judgment you've rendered, every decision made from a throne you murdered your way onto. You want to talk about my parents' pack? This isn't it. This is a cheap imitation built on their corpses. His mask slips, just for a second, just long enough for me to see the cold, calculating rage underneath, the predator realizing the prey's earned to bite back. The feast is tomorrow night, he says quietly, and the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Attend. Make your peace with the past, or forfeit your safe passage and face the consequences of breaking pack law. There it is, the threat wearing a diplomatic smile. Consequences, I repeat. Interesting word choice from a man who's never faced them. Tomorrow night, Natalie. Final answer. I turn to leave, then pause at the door. Look back. You're not afraid of my sword, Uncle. You're afraid of what I know. Funny how truth turns out to be a sharper weapon than steel. His hand tightens on the desk, knuckles white, jaw clenched. He'd given me a deadline. Survive the feast, or die before dawn. Either way, tomorrow night, everything ended. The Great Hall is a powder keg wrapped in silk and ceremony. Every warrior, every elder, every family with enough standing to warrant an invitation, they're all here, packed shoulder to shoulder, breathing the same air thick with anticipation and wine, and the metallic edge of violence waiting to happen. Nikolai stands at the high table, glass raised, smile perfect. Tonight we celebrate reconciliation, he announces, voice carrying to every corner. The return of family, the healing of old wounds, the future of our pack built not on division, but unity. The crowd murmurs approval. They want to believe him. People always want to believe the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth. And now, he gestures toward me with practiced magnanimity, I invite Natalie to speak, to share her thoughts on this new beginning.
Every eye turns. The hall goes quiet. This is the moment he thinks I'll bow, submit, accept his golden cage, and disappear quietly into the Northern Territories where I can't threaten his narrative. I stand, walk to the center of the hall, pull the documents from my cloak. You want to talk about old wounds? My voice cuts through the silence like a blade through flesh. Let's talk about them. Let's name them. Let's stop pretending murder is something that heals with time and pretty speeches. I hold up the ledger, the real one, the one Celine risked everything to preserve. These are the true death records, not the sanitized version you were shown, the actual documentation of how my parents died. I read aloud, slowly, clearly, every word a hammer blow. Date of death, falsified. Cause of death, eliminated by council order. Signatures, Nikolai Larson, High Priest Casimir, Elder Matthias, Elder Soren, Elder... Lies! Nikolai's voice explodes across the hall. Forged documents brought by an exile desperate for revenge. She was cast out for good reason. The prophecy was real, I interrupt, pulling out the copied text. You called me cursed, said the moon marked me for destruction. But the actual prophecy, the one you hid in the vault beneath the temple, It says this: "The child born under the shadow moon will shatter the throne of lies and restore the pact to truth." The hall erupts, gasps, shouts, confusion rippling through the crowd like a shockwave. "Not cursed," I continue over the noise. "Not destruction. Truth. You twisted a warning about your own corruption into justification for murdering my parents and exiling their child. These documents are forgeries," Nikolai insists, but his voice has an edge now, desperation creeping in. Then Leo steps forward from the council table. Every head swivels. "I opened that vault myself," he says, voice steady but loud enough to carry. "I saw these documents with my own eyes. I copied them. They're real. Every word, every signature, including my father's." The crowd shifts. Murmurs grow louder. Doubt spreading like fire. Celine emerges from the servant section, trembling but upright. "I was there the night Petra and Andreas died. I brought them their evening meal. I heard them screaming." Her voice cracks but doesn't break. "I saw the high priest leaving their chamber with blood on his hands, fresh, still dripping. I was too afraid to speak then. I'm not afraid anymore." Nikolai's face transforms. The diplomatic mask shatters, and what's underneath is pure animal rage. "You want truth?" he snarls, and his voice is changing, deepening, bones beginning to crack. He shifts mid-sentence, elegant human politician exploding into massive gray wolf, all fangs and fury, and the kind of violence that doesn't care about witnesses.
He lunges straight at my throat. I meet him halfway, blade already drawn, body already moving, because I've been preparing for this moment every single day for 10 years. Steel meets claw. His weight slams into me. We crash into a support pillar. Wood splinters, stone cracks. My ribs scream, but I don't let go of the sword. Around us, the hall detonates into chaos. Warriors who served Nikolai out of fear suddenly face a choice: loyalty to a murderer or justice for the innocent. Some choose wrong. Steel rings. Bodies hit the floor. The high priest bolts for the side exit, robes flying. Leo tackles him before he makes it 3 steps. Windows shatter. Rask and my exiles pour through, not as invaders, but as shields, protecting pack members caught in the crossfire, fighting those who choose violence over truth. We roll across the floor, Nikolai's claws shredding tapestries, his fangs inches from my throat, both of us fighting not just for dominance, but for the very soul of everything this moment represents. This was it, the moment the prophecy warned about, ruin or redemption, and only one of us would walk away. His jaws close around my forearm. I feel bone grind against bone, tendons screaming, blood hot and immediate. But I felt worse, survived worse. The wild doesn't teach you to avoid pain, it teaches you to function through it. I twist my grip, drive the blade up between his ribs, feel it punch through muscle and cartilage, and find the heart that stopped caring about family a decade ago. We lock eyes, wolf and woman, uncle and niece, murderer and the ghost he created. "You were supposed to die," he rasps, his form flickering, half wolf, half man, caught between as the life drains out. I lean close, close enough to whisper, close enough that only he hears. "I did, and then I came back." I rip the blade free. He collapses, shifts back to human as his final breath rattles out. No apology, no remorse, just stubborn, bitter hatred of a man who gambled everything on a 10-year-old staying dead and lost. The hall goes silent. That absolute, suffocating quiet when violence stops and reality rushes in to fill the space. Other conspirators lie captured or dead. The high priest kneels in silver chains, Leo's blade still at his throat. Warriors who chose wrong bleed out on stones that have seen too much blood already. And every single surviving pack member turns to look at me. This is the moment, the crossroads, the choice that defines everything that comes after. I could purge them. Every wolf who stood silent while a child was exiled, every elder who voted in Nikolai's favor, every warrior who followed orders without question. build a throne of their bones and rule through the same terror that nearly destroyed me. It would be so easy. That was the danger.
The twisted prophecy could still come true if I let it. I could become the ruin they feared, just arriving 10 years late and infinitely more dangerous. But here's what I learned in the wild that Nikolai never understood. True strength isn't domination, it's restraint. It's choosing the harder path because it's the right one, even when vengeance tastes sweeter than justice. I straighten, sword still in hand, dripping, voice steady despite the adrenaline crash trying to drag me under. Listen. The word cuts through shock like a bell through fog. You've seen what lies cost. You watched men twist prophecy and faith into weapons. You stood by while children were exiled and leaders were murdered, all because you were told it was necessary. I turn slowly, make sure everyone sees my face. That ends tonight. I am your alpha, not because I seized power, but because it was mine by right. But I will not rule the way Nikolai did. I gesture to the documents still scattered across the floor. These stay here, in the Great Hall, where anyone can read them, where anyone can verify them. The vault beneath the temple, it opens, permanently. No more sealed chambers hiding inconvenient truths. My voice gets harder. Laws will be written in plain language and witnessed by the pack. Leaders, including me, will be held accountable. Not above truth, subject to it. I pause. Let the weight settle. And if you ever catch me twisting words or burying secrets the way Nikolai did, I expect you to drag me off this platform yourselves. That's not a threat. That's a promise. That's the deal. Here's what power actually looks like. Not the person everyone fears, the person everyone trusts enough to challenge. I'd come for vengeance, but I was leaving with something heavier. Responsibility. I climbed the platform where the twin thrones once sat, where my parents ruled as equals, as partners, as the kind of leaders who understood that power shared is power multiplied. Nikolai's elevated seat, that monument to ego and tyranny, I don't touch it. Let it stand empty. Let it serve as a reminder of what happens when one voice decides it's the only voice that matters. Instead, I sit in my mother's throne, the one Leo and Celine retrieved last night from the storage vault where it was hidden, erased, nearly forgotten. The wood remembers the shape of her. I feel it as I settle in, like coming home to a place that's been waiting a decade for someone to finally return. Moonlight pours through the high windows, silver and cold and absolute. Witness to everything that just happened. Witness to everything that comes next. I was exiled as a child, I begin, and my voice carries to every corner of this blood-stained hall. Cast out under a lie to protect a throne that was never theirs to take. I came back to reclaim what they stole. My birthright, my parents' memory, the truth itself. I pause. Let them absorb it. But that's not enough. Reclaiming the past doesn't fix the future. So here's what changes, starting tonight. No wolf will be exiled to protect a lie. No child will be used as a scapegoat for adult ambitions. No leader will hide behind closed vaults and twisted prophecies. The pack stands silent, watching, waiting to see if words match actions, or if this is just another performance. Then Celine, quiet, overlooked Celine, who spent 10 years invisible, she throws her head back and howls. The sound is cracked at first, rusty from this use, carrying the weight of a decade's worth of silenced grief. But it strengthens, builds, becomes something fierce and beautiful and free. Others join. One voice, then 5, then 20, then the entire hall erupts in a howl that shakes the rafters and rattles the windows and announces to every wolf within hearing distance that something fundamental just shifted. Not frenzy, not bloodlust, release. I add my voice to theirs, and for the first time since they threw me out into that frozen darkness, the sound doesn't echo back alone. When the howling fades, Celine approaches, climbs the platform with slow, deliberate steps, leans close enough to whisper, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago." I wait. I'm the seer. I delivered the original prophecy. I saw what Nikolai planned to do with it, how he'd twist it, weaponize it, use it to justify the unjustifiable. I tried to warn your mother. She knew. She asked me to make sure you survived long enough to fulfill the real prophecy. My breath catches. I couldn't save her. Celine continues, voice breaking. But I could save you. So I stayed, became invisible, gathered evidence, waited, bet everything that you'd be strong enough to come back and finish what she started. The weight of it, 10 years of watching, waiting, protecting from the shadows, it's staggering. "You were never alone out there," she whispers. "I was watching, always watching." Here's what you need to understand, and I'm talking directly to you now, the one hearing this story. If you're listening to this, you know how it ends. The cursed child came home, the liars fell, the truth won. But here's the part they don't tell you in the legends, the part that matters more than any dramatic battle or prophetic revelation. Winning is the easy part. Ruling justly, leading with integrity, building systems that outlast your own ambition, that's the battle that never ends. That's the fight you wake up to every single morning, wondering if today's the day you slip, if today's the day you become what you swore you'd never be. The throne doesn't make you worthy. Your choices do. Every single day, every single decision, every moment you choose transparency over convenience, accountability over authority, truth over the comfortable lie. So if you're wondering what happens next, watch closely. Because the hardest part isn't claiming a throne. It's proving you deserve to keep it. So tell me, which moment hit hardest? The gates that closed on a child opening for a queen? The prophecy they twisted finally breaking their lies? Or watching the man who should have protected me fall by the blade he forced me to sharpen? Hold on to that feeling, because the next story waiting for you carries a different kind of edge, different shadows, different teeth. And if this one made you feel powerful, the next one will make you dangerous. See you there.